I finished the main storyline of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. I've played over 50 hours so far, so I'm going to break down all of the important tips, tricks, and info I wish I had known before playing, so you can have a more enjoyable time in the Caribbean. No spoilers in this video, of course, and just Ubisoft for the review code so I can get this video out to you very quickly. And let's first cover the basics so we're all on the same page, because how long does the game take to complete? Well, the main story took me around 25 to 35 hours at an average pace on normal difficulty, and I've got another 20 or so hours on top of that where I still haven't finished all of the side content in the game at the time of recording for you. Now, structure-wise, you are going to get the original full campaign across 12 sequences and the epilogue, plus around 6 hours of new content woven through it. Now, that's going to include the new Blackbeard's Treasure quest, the new Steve Bonnet quest lines, the naval officer side missions, the extra Animus Rifts, and a brand new 8-mission endgame chapter called A World Without Gold. And this is going to be an additional 4 to 5 hours of game time as well. Now, there is no New Game Plus in this remake, by the way, so this save is your only kind of lap to complete it, so to speak, meaning there's no reason to power through the story, and you can take your time and enjoy it for what it is. But before you do wander off exploring, there are some really important world restrictions you seriously need to know about first. Because you can't immediately go sailing around the whole map, and if you try to, just like I've done here, the Animus will literally desync you and kill you, basically, which means the southern part of the map is off limits until you unlock the hideout, or what's called the Great Inagua Manor in Sequence 4. So my recommendation for you is just to play the main story. It's kind of a big tutorial anyway for the first 4 or 5 hours or so, because not only does this then open up the whole map for you, but important gameplay upgrades do become available, such as upgrading your ship. You can access your full fleet planning menus and the mini-games in that. There's new officer quests we just spoke about, and those Templar hunts and several ward events or side quests that are really important, and we'll, of course, go through that shortly. Now, after that, there's honestly not much left in the game that is actually hiding or restricted from you. You only have the blow dart that you unlock or you pick up at the end of Sequence 4, and then you get the diving bell, which unlocks in Sequence 6, which is a few hours of storyline to reach after you unlock the hideout. So when you do boot up the game, just enjoy the story initially. Don't stress. Reach the hideout, and then you can do whatever you want in the game in terms of exploration, as you are 90% of the way there, really, in terms of unlocks. Now, while you are sailing between these storyline quests, here are some exploration tips and tricks that will save you hours, because I wish I'd known them sooner. Firstly, we've got the Pathfinder mechanic, which is being ported over from Shutters. So go ahead and set a marker on the map of wherever you want to go. Come back into the game, hold up on the D-pad to then activate it, and then press the triangle button here to then follow the sea to get to that location. Now, the benefit of doing this is that the jackdaw will actually go ahead and dock at the places that you haven't discovered yet, which is super helpful because unlike other AC games, you don't need to unlock the sync points to then fast travel in this game, because after discovering a location by docking here, you can zoom out on the map and view all the things that you need to complete at this location. But more importantly, you can just fast travel back to it, which will spawn you there with your ship, which is a very nice way to kind of open up the map and enjoy sailing the high seas, because it's quite a big gig. This also means that you can fast travel into the manor directly at your hideout, by the way, so don't do what I did and run up from the harbor each time I came back here, because it just took me too long to realize that, and this will save you some time. There's also a couple more cool things here that I think you should know, because the development team have added new islands into this game. So whenever you see one highlighted in red on the map, as you can kind of see from my gameplay here, or when you're actually just sailing by and you can see crows circling above the island, it means there's something there of interest, of course, so it is worth marking on your map for later when you are doing a bit of an exploration binge, if you do want to come back to it and see what's there. But when you eventually climb a sync point in this game, do make sure you just press L2, which is the observe button here. Again, comes from Shadows, and it will speed up what you're kind of after, what you're looking for. So green glows mean objectives or missions. The resources and chests that you can loot are gold or yellow, and the secrets or special items that are important for collectibles, they are white. So do try and remember that, as it will save you a lot of time, because you can just skip the stuff that you're not after. By the way, if you're finding these tips useful so far, please do leave a very swift like or click the hype button down below. It takes 2 seconds and it helps me out against all this AI slop floating around right now online. I'm sure you find it as frustrating as I do, so thanks very much for doing that. Now, what are all of these open world activities in this game? There's a lot of them, and are all of them worth your time? Firstly, there are 11 forts in this game, which are all accessible for you to attack and take over after you open the southern part of the map, apart from one fort actually, which is story-based. Now, I would recommend that you complete these, or certainly kill a few of them early on, as capturing them defogs that section of the map, of course, and it does then open up the region on your fleet map, which you can access in your cabin, which I will explain in greater detail in the follow-up. Reveals the legendary ships as well when you do take down the forts for endgame content, but it also gives you a fast travel point. It spawns NPCs that clear your wanted level if you've been out in the high seas pillaging too much, and it gives you a decent amount of gold early on in the game for those ship upgrades that you can reinvest in. Now, Assassin's contracts, they unlock from the pigeon coops from sequence 4 onwards, and these are 30 quick assassination missions that give you more gold if you do decide to complete the optional objective in the top left-hand corner here. They are very easy to pick up and complete when you're out exploring, so do so, because completing half of them will reward you with the stealth outfit and the hidden one sigil trinket, and completing all 30 of them will give you a pair of spring steel swords, which can parry gunshots, which is quite fun to do. Now, naval contracts come from the NPC Milo at your hideout around the same time when you do unlock it. Again, good money to be earned here, but only worth doing after you've upgraded your ship, because some of these missions are quite challenging. Now, you've also got the Templar hunts, which are cool side quests that start at the hideout, and if you finish them all, they will give you the Templar armor set with its own Templar cross trinket, which is very nice for my Templar friends indeed. And then you've got the warehouses as well dotted around the map. There's 9 of them that refresh every 2 hours that you can loot for important trading resources. We'll talk about that later. And then you've also got the royal convoys that pop up on your map, and they drop decent cash, so kill them quickly when you do see them. It doesn't stop there though, because you've got whaling and hunting, and these provide you with resources to upgrade your weapons and tools in the crafting menu here in your inventory, by the way, very easily missed, so don't forget that. These song sheets as well are the flying paper mechanics from Valhalla, if you played that game. That's many years ago now, and that unlocks new shanties for your pirates to sing on the ship, so if you like that in-game mechanic, don't skip them when you see them. You've also got the Mayan Stelae, which are mini games that unlock the Mayan armor set if you collect them all after sequence 4, and you've also got the Heart Collection that you can loot from warehouses and all around the world, and if you hand in 30 of them to your butler at the hideout, you will get the legendary Master Assassin outfit, which is very nice indeed. Now, since half of these activities actually involve you firing broadsides from your ship, let's make sure you win them every time and go through some tips and tricks you need to know for naval combat. Firstly, the most important thing you need to do is make sure you actually board every encounter early on in the game in the high seas, because sinking them instead of boarding them loses half the loot, so it's not really worth your time. Now, when you do board, the best way I've found to reduce the morale of the ship, which means that you keep killing enemies until this bar hits 0, basically, as you can kind of see on my screen, and that's when you win, is to use the swivel gun to blow up the explosive gunpowder crates on the deck, and each ship will have them, by the way. I then swing across with the rope next to the swivel gun if the ship is small enough, as it's quicker to get across, but if it's a man of war or a ship that's bigger than the jackdaw, I will then use the rope at the top of the mast to swing across, and making sure I assassinate when I do, just press triangle really quickly when you jump across, and then drop some smoke bombs, and then assassinate spam the deck as well, which means boarding doesn't need to take as long as you would expect. I'd also recommend you spend 800 coins and just unlock the mortar ability and the storage expansion, so you can just hold 10 mortars early on in the game. They nuke forts very quickly, and ships of course, which makes the game more fun and unlocks a lot of rewards at a quicker pace versus getting alongside each ship every time with your cannons. You can actually just go up to them, abort them, instead of going side by side. Now, perks on your weapons and armor will help you clear those gun decks even quicker, which is a nice transition onto gear now. Because unlike the original game, outfits are purely cosmetic now, with weapons and trinkets providing you with unique perks that can alter your gameplay, with the trinket slot unlocking when you reach Havana in sequence 2, by the way, so pretty early, around an hour or 2 hours or so. There's also no skill trees in this game, so you have access to every combat move if you have the item or tool that has the correct perk attached to it to enable you to do it. So for example, there are 3 swords in this game, which each do something different with their heavy strike, which is when you hold R1 in combat. Now, rapiers allow you to pierce a specific target, and I found this pretty good and effective with big brute enemies, whereas cutlasses hits everybody in an arc, which is pretty decent for boarding, as you would expect. And pistol swords allow you to fire 2 shots without using your bullet or your ammunition, which can be really overpowered against all enemies in the game, to be honest with you, especially when you use it alongside pistols that have a solid perk on them, like the golden flintlock pistols that slow time after every pistol kill. Most importantly though, these weapons allow you to perform takedown chain assassination animations in combat when you remove an enemy's defense bar, which is the yellow bar above their heads. This means that you can instant kill 4 enemies in a row if you purchase the officer's rapier sword at the general store at your hideout for 8,500 reals, which is an overpowered move early on in the game. So mess around with the sword-heavy attacks, I would say, and see which kind of weapon you prefer. But since we're on the topic of buying items from vendors, I think that's a good transition onto your hideout buildings and what should you actually focus on first when you do upgrade them initially. Firstly, even if you have the cash, do not try and buy everything straight away and unlock it to tier 1, as it will set you back 27,000 reals or gold pieces, which isn't a good use of your money as soon as you arrive, in my opinion. That said, I would then recommend you grab the Tavern for 100 coins straight off the bat, as you'll then be able to use the tip jar that increases the rate of world convoy spawns, which, as we already discussed, are really easy kills for quick money, especially when you leave the dock. Secondly, focus on the Harbourmaster tier upgrades, because it will cost you around 8,000 coins to upgrade it fully to tier 3, and then you can invest in your ship without any restrictions early on in the game until you need schematics and more on that. I recommend unlocking the general store to pick up your rapier sword, and then focus on upgrading the hideout itself at the manor, as it will generate you passive income every hour that you can collect when the gold coin appears on your map. Best to get this early as possible, because compounding interest over time, as long as you play this game for 30 hours, it's going to net you quite a lot of cash. And by the way, if you do manage to upgrade everything on your pirate island, you will unlock the Edward the Legend outfit, so it is worth focusing on if you like the look of this outfit. Now, there is a new mechanic here when you unlock the hideout, and those are called Animus Rifts. They're new to Black Flag. So what did they do? So rifts are optional what-if stories for Edward and the Animus here, and they're this remake's take on the modern day, which is actually being removed in this remake. If you played the old game, that's not going to be here for you. Now, there are 4 of them in this game, and they take around 20 minutes or so to complete. The first one appears when you unlock and reach your hideout, of course, and completing it rewards you with a lock of hair trinket. The second unlocks after you complete sequence 8, and it will give you Queen Anne's wheel. The third appears after sequence 11, and it will reward you with an awesome shanty, and the fourth pops when you actually finish the main storyline of the game, and it will give you the best reward of all, actually, the Dark Animus pistol swords, which not only look awesome if you're partial to the Animus glitch design, but the perk itself is particularly outrageous. Now, these rifts aren't to be confused with the purple Animus anomalies that you may see dotted around your map, because these are actually daily quests that reward you with Animus Fragments, which is a type of currency, which you can then use to buy items with in the Animus exchange. And that brings me really nicely onto this Animus Hub as a whole, because there's some new changes here that you need to know. Now, if you played Shadows, this will be familiar to you, as this was introduced in that game. But for those of you who don't know or can't remember, this is essentially a free battle pass inside Black Flag, where these 3 projects individually offer you a new reward and some lore teasers about the Assassin's Creed universe that you can unlock by spending those Animus fragments that you collect by doing those in-game daily purple missions on your map. So the more fragments that you get, the more rewards that you unlock, such as the Dark Animus Corsair robe to match the swords that you just got for finishing those rifts in game, by the way. Now, what's different here, though, is the synchronization tab at the top here, which also applies to Shadows, where you can get further rewards for completing specific objectives, story milestones, and missions in each game. So, for example, I've completed all of these quests and objectives in the game listed here, so I can now claim my 200 Helix keys. Now, this is the main currency you need to spend in the exchange store, and at the time of recording this for you, Connor's outfit from Assassin's Creed 3, Altair's, Ezio's, and Naue swords are available for you to redeem if you do have the Helix keys to do so. And I also need to forget, actually, transmogrification is available in this game from the start. I just remembered because of these cosmetics, and simply clicking the customize button when you've selected your item or you've redeemed your item and it's popped into your inventory, and then you can change it to the appearance of something else in game without actually impacting the perk stats on it. And finally, there's some settings here that I think that you should turn on before you do begin Black Flag, because they make the game just way more enjoyable, in my opinion. Okay, firstly, turn on area loop, so looting one body kind of hoovers up everything around it. I'd also then recommend turning on also reload pistols, so your guns stay topped up without you having to think about it if you're still in combat with them. And I'd also turn on the unlimited oxygen setting here, which in my honest opinion makes the shipwreck events after you unlock them in sequence 6 just way more enjoyable, because you don't need to be constantly looking for one of the underwater air barrels, as it kind of ruins the flow in my opinion. But hey, the option's there if you want want it. Now, if you also like shanties, do turn on the auto-sing setting, and they'll start belting out some absolute bangers, some tunes for you to listen to as soon as you set sail. And do turn on the skip quick time event setting as well. If you aren't really fussed or you hate those kind of mechanics in Ubisoft games, it's good that they keep it here in the settings for you, the options there, and they will just auto-complete for you throughout the rest of the game and make it less frustrating. Now, as I mentioned,